Welcome back, everyone. I have acquired yet another relic from the past. Now, the reality is, I've been wanting one of these for quite some time. This is a console record player. And unlike most console units, this is not a combination unit. It only is a record player. It's a 1958 Motorola 5K23B-1. From what I've looked at, from what the little research I've done, it was more than likely made in 1958. Could be a year newer, but more than likely not any younger. It's finished in a kind of a blonde, I think they call this like an oak. Not really sure what species of wood this is. This is veneer. I thought at first that this was a like a Formica, but it's not. It appears to be actual veneer. It does have very little damage. You can see on the edges here. That's going to be hard to fix. I'm going to put some wood filler in here just to kind of hide it. It looks like somebody was cutting something with a saw and they did it on top of this. Who knows? I've been looking for one of these for a while, and I've been scouring Facebook Marketplace for a couple of months now for something that would be period correct for this house. You know, the house is built in 1954 and is largely unchanged from the way it was built. And I wanted something that would kind of look nice in here. And, you know, Amelia is starting to get into records, and I'm like, I need something old that's functional. It has to be made at a period of time when, it has to be able to play 45s, 33s, and 16s. I don't care about 78s. But I want to get into 16 RPM records so I can start collecting Seeburg 1000 records, background music. And so I've been looking kind of at all the listings, and I don't want to get into a huge project. I don't want to get into something that needs a complete overhaul, you know, that's going to present random problems. I wanted something simple. So something that was just a single function record player is all I wanted. And it had to be from the 50s because it has that aesthetic that I'm looking for. Sure enough, this one popped up for sale, local to me, within 3 minutes of where I work. And I contacted the guy. He wanted 150. He went down from like 175. And he wanted 150, and that's a little much, I think. So I offered him $100, and he snapped it up. So the thing is, a lot of these units are, because not a lot of people know how to work on these anymore, a lot of these are actually getting into the hands of the Etsy crowd, where they gut them out, paint them pink, and turn them into plant stands or some bullshit. If you can tell, I really hate Etsy. More or less what people do with antiques in the name of art. I'm sorry, Karen, but your hot pink used to be a phonograph that is now a fish tank is not what I call art. But you know what? Art is in the eye of the beholder. Anyway, I'd rather see one of these things get crushed and burned before somebody turns it into a shoe rack. I don't know, whatever. I'm very biased, and I apologize if that upsets you folks. The nice thing about this one, and which is why I was excited, is that now there's a rule, and I know this is an unspoken rule, but it's a rule amongst folks who collect and restore antique electrical or electronic devices like these record players and radios. You never plug them in. You never, ever, ever plug these in unless you have vetted and examined and tested. And, you know, the thing is, if you don't heed that one golden rule and you go to plug something in that's been sitting in somebody's basement for 50 years, there's a high likelihood that the capacitors, especially the capacitors, have completely aged out, dried out, and you could end up hurting additional components within the unit. That's the golden rule. As I understand it, that's the rule that I usually follow. I don't plug something in, and even if you do, you're going to want to use a variac and gently introduce voltage. You don't want to just hit it with 120 and hope to God it doesn't blow the fuck up. So in my case, the ad, and this is kind of why I really jumped at it. He posted it for sale, and in the ad, he actually said it was actually working. He was using it, actively using it. So I'm like, all right, okay. Well, that means it's been plugged in, and that means it does work. So, not really a big deal. So I went down, I picked it up, and he had it playing when I showed up. He had it all. It was actually in an underground parking garage of a luxury condominium building. And so I drove in, I heard it playing, and I'm like, all right, okay, it works. At least there's no, if it was going to blow up, it would have blown up by now. So when choosing a unit to bring into the house, I had to find something that could, again, play 33s and 16s. And so that meant having one that was built after the 1940s-ish, mid-50s, late 50s, even into the 60s. And this thing fit the bill. This is a mono phonograph. So the needle has to be swapped out. This has I forget what it was called. Hold on. So specifically, this unit has an Electro Voice 61 PowerPoint style cartridge. And this is not suitable for playing modern stereo records. It will actually, because on Motorola records, the needle moves side to side like this. This needle does not provide the up and down or the diagonal 45-degree movements that are required for stereo reproduction. So that's okay, because you can swap out this cartridge for a Sonotone 8T. And I've already ordered one with a new stylus. So that will allow it to play modern day stereo records without any guilt. The tone arm is, this thing looks like it would just murder records. It looks like it will just eat records like shredded wheat. It just looks chunky and old and Jurassic. But it really is lightweight. This does not weigh a whole lot. I don't know what the weight is in grams, but it doesn't weigh much of anything. The tracking force can be adjusted by moving this spring bar up or down. It's currently at a fairly low setting. I would like to have a little, what do they call those? A tracking force scale, and just kind of see where it's at and maybe adjust it. I specifically wanted a record changer. Now, before I get crucified in the comments about that, I am aware that record changers are very hard on records. But the good news is none of my records are really valuable. They're old, they're worn out, they're mostly from Sabres. I don't buy expensive records. The only flaw that I have, the only thing I need to address right now is we need to completely recap the entire amplifier. Now, this thing does, I did mention it works, and it works well. It sounds okay. I mean, it really does. You don't get that heavy 60 hertz hum that you typically get with a unit that is really bad in terms of capacitor condition. But it's not great either. It doesn't sound as good as it can. You can tell there's more potential here. And we're using a Motorola needle and cartridge with modern stereo vinyl, and that is just a no-go. I have a Robert Plant record that I actually kind of like, that I've played on this, and it will not track. It will not track on it. The needle just bounces from one groove to the next. It's just unusable. So the needle is worn out. We know this, and we know that it's the wrong needle for the application. Let me show you how this cartridge looks here. I will demonstrate it on a record that I don't care about. In fact, I'm going to demonstrate a couple of things in this video, so stay tuned. I'm going to pull this needle out. The way this works, it's a flipper needle, so you've got a 78 stylus on one side and a modern micro groove on the other. And I think it's called a micro groove. But the cartridge has, look at how small it is. If you look, it's translucent plastic, and if you look through it, you can see a little cylinder object in there, and that is the pickup. And it is so tiny, and it's encased in this plastic unit. This, I do believe, is the original needle. I don't think it's ever been replaced. So what threw me off is I decided to look for, first, I wanted to find a needle for it. And I went over to all the sites I know that sell phonograph needles, and none of them had this. And when I looked it up by model, it showed a completely different needle. It showed a needle that would be compatible with a Sonotone 8T, not with whatever the fuck this is. This is actually an Electro Voice unit, and in fact, now that I know what it is, I identified it through a forum post. Actually, I believe the EV logo is on here somewhere. Nevertheless, okay, so we can put a stereo cartridge in this, but we have to modify it. We have to bridge the terminals. There's 4 terminals on a stereo cartridge and only 2 on a mono. So what we need to do is figure out which terminals need to be bridged, and you can use a stereo cartridge on a mono unit. And it will sound fine, it just won't have stereo. But you'll get the stereo and the left and right channels will actually mix. And the flipper on this one is like that. It's a very chintzy looking design. Very chintzy, in fact. But even the stereo cartridge and stylus is a flippable design, so we won't lose any of that. But look at the condition this thing is in. It's just incredible. I mean, look at how clean. I did clean it up. And it came up pretty good. I have to probably go and maybe detail it a little better, but all the paint is intact. This translucent or transparent, reflective on the back plastic cover isn't broken or anything. This turntable was used in a variety of Motorola products, including a Voice of Music standalone record player. They used this exact same turntable. In fact, I did a quick search for Voice of Music or VM turntables, and I came up with a few that had this exact turntable. But as I was saying, I was looking for a record changer specifically. I figured if I'm going to buy something like this, I want to be able to load a stack of records on here and just let them go. I just sit back in my chair, read the newspaper, smoke a cigar. No, just kidding. I don't do either of those. But I read a newspaper maybe. But just kind of sit back and listen to, my favorite records or whatever I might decide to put on here. Again, this does play 16 RPM, so I will be able to use this to play Seeburg background music records. They run at 16 2/3. I think 16 is close enough, and I'll be able to play those with an adapter, of course. But that brings me to my next point. Now, let's go ahead and power this thing on. I'm going to warm up the amp, turn this on, the motor kicks in. So that's 16 RPM right there. See how it stutters a little bit? Oh yeah, it's really having a hard time, isn't it? So we need to replace the idler. That is a given. I'm going to order one of those. And yeah, it's skipping bad right now, huh? Hear it? Because there's a flat spot in there, I think. So that's got to be replaced. But it seems to hold true at 33. How about 45? Yeah, not too bad. It's got good resistance. 78. Got to lubricate that bottom bearing. Hear that? Hear it? Okay. Kind of roll it through all the settings there. Yeah, it's kind of sputtering at 16. Okay. Anyway. So, let's take a look at the control panel before we continue on. I love the styling. It's just very period. You know, it's very period for the late 50s. It's got that little check pattern, whatever you want to call it. Look like little crowns, you know, very 50s. And the other thing that attracted me to this unit is it still has its original 45 adapter, and that just slides over the shaft, over the spindle like that. And it does work with the record changer. I tested that too. But the record changer has a few hiccups. It's not dropping the needle where it's supposed to. So we might need to do some adjusting. I need to figure out how that's done on this turntable. Every turntable is different. But as I understand it, it's supposed to change the position that the tone arm drops off depending on whether or not there's the 33 adapter on here or not. Like it's supposed to change. It's supposed to stop in either this position or out over here somewhere. But what it's doing is it's kind of splitting the difference and dropping wherever the hell it feels like it. So let's take a look at how that works out. I'm going to find a record real quick. And all right, so I found a couple of records that I'm pretty sure are not in Google's or YouTube's copyright database. So I should be able to get away with these. This top one here is called Made in Japan by Terry Adams. By the way, it's an amazing, I love this record. Terry Adams was the, I believe he was the front man for NRBQ. And he released 1 or 2 solo albums, neither of which had any success and were never ported to, as far as I know, they were never ported to cassette, CD, or MP3. So you can't get it anywhere unless it's the original record. So mid-80s, 86 or 83. The other one is a Russian Christmas record. I think it's Russian. Anyway, so let's go ahead and get this thing started. So I got my, turn the amp up. The amp is working fine. Okay, let's hit reject. And you see it's gonna, it drops way too far in. So. Sounds pretty clean. For being about 67 years old, it's not bad. Now that one, it landed where it's supposed to.
Лампочки и свечи, старый год простится с нами навсегда и оставит песни, и оставит встречи. Вот они какие старые года, каждый день и час с нами навсегда. Годы.
Needle's not appropriate for this record. Not at all. Almost painful to listen to. So as you can clearly see, I don't want to ruin my record too much. So what's happening is it's just bouncing out of the groove, and again, the needle is worn out pretty badly, so that does not help the situation. Now if I hit reject, what will happen? Will it just return the tone arm? Let's see what it does. Or will it cut off? No. Yeah, okay, point taken. But you'll notice that some of the older records, even though they're stereo, don't have a problem with it. So if I move that arm in, I think it's supposed to start. Let's see what it does. Unless there's, no, there has to be a record on the stack to do that. If I were to trick it, holding this in, no, I think I have to, when I feel resistance, there we go. No, huh? Oh, it shut off that time. Oh, okay. That's only at 5. Damn. Treble's too high. The funny thing is, it does work. It actually works. Now, I would not have, if I were buying one of these, I would not have plugged it in and tested it out. But when I showed up at the guy's house, it was already running. So I'm like, oh, whatever, it works. And the reason being why that's such an issue is, as you see in just a moment, this thing is untouched. It says pure as Christmas snow. Let me see if I can get my light to go on. It's pure. She's not been really touched much. There's one modification that we will be reversing. This switch was added to switch the audio out from the speakers to the to an exterior speaker, maybe to an exterior amplifier. Maybe not, because no, this would be amplified audio coming out. So yeah. That would be going straight into some external speakers, which is funny because it has a 1/4-inch jack right here for an external speaker. Still has its factory tag. Still has its factory tag. I don't know if anyone can identify when this might have been made. The date was immediately left blank. It's got chalk marks in the cabinet for maybe whoever made the cabinet. It's got all 3 original Motorola Golden Voice speakers. These are not field coil speakers. I thought they were still using field coils in the 50s, but I guess not. So I'm not going to demonstrate it for you guys because I don't think I need to, but it does function. It plays, there's no 60 hertz hum, nothing. It actually sounds pretty good, but it has never been recapped. I'm looking through the chassis, through the little holes here, and I can see the cardboard tube caps. So we've got to swap those out. There's one here too, between this speaker and that one. Somebody broke a screw head off here. Don't know. It was a previous repair. Now, the guy who owned this previously is passed away, and it was his son-in-law who sold it to me. And the guy who owned this was a TV and radio repairman, which is kind of interesting. So I thought, you know what, it was running. The guy had it playing in an underground garage, and I could hear it from a mile away. So I'm thinking, all right, maybe it's been recapped, maybe it's been serviced. No, it hasn't. All of these would be gone by then. So we're gonna have this one here. I'm gonna replace this capacitor, but I'm gonna hollow out the cylinder because it's visible. So we'll I'm gonna try to reuse that cylinder. We'll just stuff in a new cap, and all the tubes seem to be fine. It's putting out. Now, again, it blows my mind that this thing could still be functional, given the fact that it has what appears to be all the original caps. And they look like all Motorola tubes. So, what's this one? Can't see the dust. Yeah, it's got all of its original tubes, all Motorola's. Jesus Christ. I kind of wonder if this thing's ever actually been used. I wonder if a family bought this, you know, maybe used it once or twice and then just used it as a shelf. But it's kind of nice that I can actually find one of these, and it's the perfect size, and it hasn't been mutilated by the Etsy crowd yet. You know, it's untouched. I get to be the one to mess it up. But no, what we'll do is I'm going to pull the chassis out. We're going to take a look at that and see what's going on underneath. Phonograph spins fine. It's got the original rubber idler, and it's still malleable. I can't seem to get the record changer function working correctly, though. Yeah, the record changer, that's kind of iffy. Because what it's not A record changer, as I understand it, when you slide the that arm, the top arm over the platter thing, it's supposed to automatically start the phonograph and return the needle back to its home and then start the process all over again. It's not doing that. So I got to look at, maybe there's something stuck, or maybe I just don't understand how it works. Oops. What's this? Oh, that's the arm. Yeah, so something must be stuck. Shouldn't be too hard to fix that. But we'll have to take the phonograph out and kind of go through it. Motor spins freely. Everything works. Again, it plays records. I was listening to it while I was making dinner. You see, things already screwed. So this modification that they did, originally these wires would have gone from here to here. So he cut these wires or disconnected them. Maybe there was a plug in there originally. And yeah, so that's not too cool. Had me nervous for a second there because I thought this was line voltage, but no, it's just speaker voltage. Looks like it has the original line cord, and it's in pretty good shape. Not really deteriorated yet. The plug's in good shape. Yeah, original Motorola plug. So we'll leave that alone. We'll clean it up. Yeah, it's not cracking. It's not disintegrating. It's all good. No need to change it. Not even nicked. Back cover. Let's take a look at that. Back cover is in mint condition. Serial number is actually on the, oh, no, there it is, 270418. That serial number should be on this tag, right? 270418. So it's got the original chassis. Usually these covers are pretty mutilated. The holes are blown out of them. Nothing. So whoever owned this, they took the cover off to do this little modification, and that was it. Again, I will be reversing that modification. I'm going to also, how the hell did that happen? Yeah, the bolt just broke. And then they just stuffed a screw in there. Well, okie dokie. Well, yeah, when we resume, I'm going to pull the chassis out and we're going to take a look at it. It looks clean, no rust. And this right here, this can hasn't really been leaking. Well, it feels empty, but there's no corrosion running down the side. So that's pretty impressive. I think it was a good find, even if I overpaid. So why don't we go over a couple of things that I need to do to this to make it last and make it more, well, better functioning. Amplifier obviously needs a cap job. That is, there's no getting around that, even though it works. Looks like all the tubes seem to be doing just fine. I mean, it produces good, clean sound, despite having a worn-out needle that was designed for Motorola records. Excuse me. So we need to do that at a minimum. The phonograph itself has a few issues with the auto return, the changer. There's some linkages that are probably binding up, probably stuck due to lubrication. The idler is trash. We'll get an idler for it. There's a company called turntableneedles.com, and they rebuild them. What they'll do is they'll send you a new one and you send back the old one, and I guess they must have a shop that recovers them. So we'll be doing that. Even though I think I can save it, I'd rather not. The thing's 65 years old, so that's not. We're going to be upgrading the cartridge to a stereo compatible one. We're going to wire it for mono. As I said before, it was the What did I say I was going to buy? It just slipped my mind. Anyway, we'll get a new one of those, and I'll think of it in a second. I did order a new stylus for the factory cartridge. Figured, what the hell, I can still get one. I'm going to save the parts in case I ever decide to, for whatever reason, go back to the original. I want to show you what it's doing. So we know that it lands, when you do the auto start, it lands at the wrong spot. But check this out. If this is in the copyright database, I would be shocked. Okay. If I position it all the way to the end, watch where it goes. So it should lead, it does actually, the auto return wasn't working at first. And now it is. And look at that. It picks up, oh, it worked. Oh, and then it brings it right back. Okay. So, all right, so the auto return is working. But again, it returns it. Okay, puts it over here where it belongs, and then it's... That's curious. Where... If I fool it into thinking that there's a 33 in there, or a 45, sorry, will it change anything? Yeah, that needle is trash. I mean... It is trash. All right. Here we go. No, it doesn't change a thing. So this is moving up and down. Something's going on. There's no linkage that goes from the speed selector to the tone arm to change the record size. So as you know, 45s are smaller. But this landing zone isn't even good enough for a 45. Strange. 78. Yeah, don't do that. Yeah, there's something that needs a little adjustment there. The record that I'm playing with, by the way, and the needle are both trash, so we don't care what happens to either of those things. They're just using this for testing purposes. So, and this doesn't seem to have any bearing on what the behavior is. So let's do that again. Let's do an auto return. Okay. It's picking up, it's returning. And it shut it off. Because there's no record there. So it looks like it's starting to, you know, I think it's starting to actually work correctly, little by little. So if I set it to start, I think I had a BSR turntable that had a similar problem. I can turn it on, as long as I don't hit reject, I can turn it on. Let's see what it does. It's at the end of the record. It's stuck. Huh. It's not. Now I'm going to take this off. And there you go. Let it go in. Okay. I think I'm getting the hang of this. So if I start it with the reject, that's how you're supposed to start it. So it puts it in the correct position to auto return the needle, correct? Yes, it does. And then it restarts. So you're not okay, I get it. You're not supposed to drag, I got it. You're not supposed to do what I did. You're not supposed to grab the tone arm and place it on the record. You're supposed to use the reject switch. But little by little, things are starting to wake up a bit. Little by little. And how that behavior changes so when there's no more records on the stack, it shuts it down, or it's supposed to. See, it moved it a little bit. There it goes. Yeah, so again, we're just going to need to take this phonograph apart, check all the linkages, look for anything bent that might be affecting the tone arm placement. And I'm pretty sure that there's got to be some kind of a switch internally that changes it from a 33 starting position to a 45 starting position. Somehow that has to be built in somehow. So thank God we got this. These are hard to get, and they're almost always missing, those adapters for the 45s. Those are often lost with time, so I'm grateful. If that was missing, I probably wouldn't have paid what I paid for this thing. So I think we have an idea as to what we're looking at. We've got a 100% original, more than likely, phonograph here that just needs all of its capacitors, rubber components, needles. All the wearables are what we need to change out. The cabinet needs almost no repair. I'm going to angle sand a little bit the corner or the edges, because what happens with these is, they're placed in houses with carpeting. They're dragged across the floor. So you get the little fine chipping on the edge. We're going to fix that on the veneer. We're going to fix all that. I'm not too worried about it. Should be easy to do. And the cloth is just incredible. The speaker grill, I mean, these lines are supposed to be there. They're not like runs in the fabric or anything. That's just how it was made. It was the 50s. You've got reflective, kind of a gold weave in there. And you got these vertical marks that I'm not sure I agree with it stylistically, but it is what it is. Yeah, and there's no holes where the speakers are. There's no pulls to speak of. This cloth is practically irreplaceable. And the fact that I have cats really does scare me, because you can't buy this shit anymore. They better not mess with it. The cabinet edges appear to be, I'm going to say they're painted. At first I thought it might have been a plastic, maybe a celluloid. And I'm thinking that it might be, yeah, I think that's celluloid. Very thin laminate. Like a celluloid finish. You see there's cracks in it. But those could be cracks in the board too. Nah. Oh yeah, maybe. Because you got the end grain here. It stops right at that crack. Yeah, maybe. This could be painted. It could very well be painted. These are felt pads that I replaced. The original ones were trash. I gotta clean this too. Make it look like that. All right. Well, I got my work cut out for me, guys. Enjoy. Hope you've enjoyed watching this as much as I did making it. That's cheesy. Have a nice day.